In the heart of a mountain no one dares to enter. There lived an old man who planted hope into dead soil. No one knew that one day, those tiny seeds would grow into something that was never meant to live on this earth. A heartbeat echoing beneath the ground. Trees growing faster than nature allows. And a forest that seemed to have a life of its own. He planted hope. But what grew was a secret that can never die. The man who planted hope. A story that will make you question what it truly means to be alive. An old man lived in a small village hidden deep among the mountains. His hands were rough and cracked from a lifetime of hard work. Yet in his eyes, there was still a faint glimmer of hope that refused to fade. Every morning, he walked toward a barren hill where no green had grown for years. In his hand, he carried a small cloth bag filled with seeds. The dry wind whistled through the dead grass. He knelt down, gently dug small holes, and placed the seeds one by one. Sweat ran down his forehead, mixing with the red dust that clung to his hands. Years passed, and the soil remained dry and lifeless. The villagers laughed at him, calling him mad. But the old man continued his walk each day, as if performing a sacred ritual. One day, the sky turned dark gray, and heavy clouds sank low over the mountain. Thunder rolled across the valley like a warning from the heavens. Still, he planted, his trembling hands pressing each seed into the cold earth. And then, the rain came, slow at first, soft drops tapping against the cracked soil. The old man lifted his face to the sky, feeling each drop slide down his wrinkled cheeks. It had been so long since the land had tasted water that even the earth seemed to sigh. The dry ground darkened, drinking greedily, swallowing the water as though it feared it would vanish again. The man stood motionless, his heart pounding. For years, he had prayed for this moment, but now that it was here, something about it felt strange, unsettling even. The rain grew heavier, pounding the hill, turning the soil to mud. Lightning tore across the sky, blinding and white, revealing the shape of the valley in sharp, terrifying flashes. He watched as the seeds he had buried began to move, not sprouting, not growing, but shifting beneath the mud as if alive. The ground pulsed. The air grew thick with the scent of wet earth, roots, and something else, something metallic, something old. His breathing quickened. He stepped back, boots sinking deep into the sludge. Then, with a deep cracking sound, the earth split open. Thin green shoots burst upward, twisting and writhing in the rain. At first, he smiled, tears mixing with rainwater. But the smile faded as he saw the shoots grow unnaturally fast, stretching toward the sky, tangling, weaving together like serpents. They were not normal plants. Their leaves shimmered darkly, reflecting no light. Some of the vines coiled around each other and tightened, producing a sound that was half whisper, half moan. The old man's heart raced. He stumbled backward, mud splashing up to his knees. The forest, if it could be called that, was growing before his eyes. In minutes, the barren hill was transformed into a thick, suffocating mass of green and black. The vines crept toward him, reaching as if they recognized their creator. He tried to run, but the ground was slick and heavy. One vine wrapped around his ankle. He shouted, tearing at it with trembling hands. It was cold, impossibly cold, colder than water, colder than death. He managed to pull free, stumbling down the slope, his breath ragged. Behind him, the forest continued to grow, swallowing rocks, paths, and even the old wooden fence at the edge of the village. He turned once to look, and froze. Where there had been a hill, there was now a dense jungle, moving ever so slightly, breathing. The villagers saw it too. They came running, staring in disbelief. The rain had not stopped. It poured harder, soaking them to the bone, but none could look away. "Is this your doing?" one man shouted, his voice trembling with fear. The old man did not answer. He could not. He was staring at something deeper within the trees, a faint, golden glow pulsing softly among the twisting vines. It was beautiful, hypnotic even. He felt drawn to it, as though the light was calling his name. He took a step forward. The villagers yelled for him to stop, but their voices seemed far away. The glow grew brighter, warmer, until it was all he could see. He entered the new forest. The rain softened as he passed beneath the canopy. The air inside was different, humid, heavy with the scent of sap and decay. Every sound was amplified. The creak of branches, the drip of water, the faint rustle of leaves that seemed to whisper. He looked around. The vines pulsed faintly, like veins filled with light. And then, he heard it, a heartbeat. Not his own. It was deep, steady, and ancient, echoing through the roots under his feet. He froze. The vines around him began to move again, but slower now, almost tenderly. They brushed against his arms, his face, tracing his skin like they were learning it. He whispered, "I gave you life." The forest answered with a low hum, as if in agreement. He took another step, and the vines parted slightly, revealing a clearing at the center. In the middle of that clearing stood something that should not have been there, a massive tree, twisted and black, its trunk shimmering faintly with veins of gold. Its roots spread in every direction, moving slightly, like living things. The heartbeat grew louder. It came from the tree. The old man fell to his knees. Rainwater dripped from his clothes, pooling around him. He felt a strange warmth spreading through his chest, a pulse that matched the rhythm of the sound. Then he heard whispers, thousands of voices layered together, speaking words he could not understand. They grew louder, overlapping, pressing against his mind. He clutched his head, gasping. The ground shook, and the golden veins in the tree pulsed brighter, almost blinding. He saw faces in the bark, faint, fleeting, like trapped souls pushing against the surface. They were human faces. Some he recognized, villagers who had died long ago. Their eyes opened, glowing faintly as they looked at him. The whispers turned into cries, into laughter, into screams. He tried to stand, but the vines wrapped around his wrists, holding him down. The warmth in his chest turned into burning. It spread through his body like fire, yet he could not move. The forest was alive, alive with the souls of those long buried beneath the barren hill. And now, it wanted him. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the wind and rain. The vines lifted him slowly toward the black tree. The faces in the bark seemed to smile. The golden light pulsed once more, and then dimmed. Outside the forest, the villagers saw the glow fade and the rain stop. The jungle stood silent, unmoving. The old man never returned. But the next morning, when the villagers approached, they found something new. The once dead hill was now filled with green, beautiful, shimmering, and alive. Birds sang. Flowers bloomed. The air was fresh and sweet. Yet beneath that beauty, if one listened closely, there was a faint sound, a heartbeat, deep in the soil. And when the wind passed through the leaves, it carried a whisper that sounded almost like a man's voice. A voice that said softly, "Hope has roots." But those who listened too long never spoke again. The villagers stopped going near the hill. They built a fence, called it sacred ground, and warned their children never to cross it. Years later, travelers who passed through would hear stories about the man who planted hope, and vanished. Some called him a fool. Others, a saint. But those who went close to the forest swore they saw his shadow walking between the trees, still sowing seeds into the dark earth, still feeding the thing that grew from his faith. And when the wind blew just right, it carried his voice through the valley, gentle, tired, and eternal, whispering to the world that hope always asks for a price. As the years passed, the forest became part of the mountain itself. No one dared to enter, yet its beauty drew eyes from miles away. In the morning light, the leaves shimmered like emerald glass. At night, a faint golden glow could still be seen deep within, pulsing gently, like a sleeping heart. The villagers spoke of it in hushed voices, telling their children that it was not a place of fear, but of memory. For the old man had not vanished in vain. He had given his life to the land, and in return, it had awakened. Seasons came and went. The drought that once cursed the valley never returned. Rivers began to flow again, feeding fields that had long been dust. Even the air felt different, softer, kinder, filled with the scent of new life. Yet those who lived closest to the forest sometimes awoke in the night to a sound, the slow rhythm of footsteps in the rain. And in the distance, the shadow of a man could be seen moving among the trees, his hands scattering unseen seeds into the soil. They said he smiled when the moonlight touched his face. He no longer looked tired, nor old, nor broken. He simply walked, patient and calm, as if carrying out an eternal promise. The villagers began to call that hill, the Garden of Hope. Each year, on the day the rain first falls, they gather at its edge and bow their heads. They do not speak his name, for none remember it anymore. But they remember his gift, a reminder that even the smallest act of faith can bloom into something eternal. And deep within the heart of that forest, where golden light still glows beneath the roots, a single whisper continues to echo through the soil. Soft and gentle, like a prayer carried by the wind. Hope never dies.